Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another exciting, captivating, here we go using my adjectives again. I'm just going to use two. Apparently, a lot of people told me I use too many adjectives to describe my show. Some people gave me some adjectives to use to describe it, but I can't say those on the air. But anyway, so hey, where are we at right now? What world are we in? Hey, anyway, so I always like to start off with a joke. So my buddy producer over here, he's heard it, so he's gonna have to hear it again. But he, once again, laughed so hard he just rolled right out of the room. Here we go. Why did the cranberry blush? Because he saw the turkey dressing. Hey, anyway, welcome to Hillside. I got a thumbs up for that one. I've been trying to tell my buddies Jake and Jason that joke for the last couple of weeks, but I think they know when I come in and they go out the back door. That's okay. Maybe I'll stand at the back door and wait for him to come out one day. So anyway, hey, man, was it cold today or what? What a cold, dreary, snowy day. It's not even Thanksgiving yet, and it's snowing already. And it's not even supposed to be the worst yet. Tuesday is going to be really cold. 27 and snow. Boo. I might have to call in sick. Oof. Nope. Oh, did I just say that on Facebook Live? Whoops. Can't call in now. Hey, anyway, so, all right, let's start the show. Let's get this show going here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Hillside. I'm glad you could tune in. Chuck here. Just hope you guys had a great week. It's Friday for me. I'm excited. I always like Friday. Tonight, my wife and I are going to a Mexican ballet, which is going to be really fun, exciting. And then this weekend, this Sunday, I get to see a good buddy of mine get baptized at church Sunday morning. I'm excited about that. Hey, what's up, John and Don? Look, John and Don. Hey, that rhymes. Anyway, today we're going to talk about stones. I'd like to talk about stones for a while. You know, in the Bible, quite frequently uses stones as different references. You know, they use stones as a building point. They use stones as a point of destruction. You know, they use stones as even to describe a hardened heart. And so today I just want to talk about what kind of stones do we have in our life that is you know, either causing uplifting or causing destruction or causing, you know, turmoil or whatever, you know, because it's just really, I can't stop thinking about that joke. I should have never told that joke out loud, man. I can't stop thinking about it. Anyway, focus. All right, here we go. Here we go. I told you it was going to be a short one today. People have probably already changed the channel already on me. I'm probably talking to snow right now. Anyway, so yes. Absolutely, Jesus is described as a cornerstone. Absolutely, he is the stone that holds everything together. You know, Stephen, one of the great disciples of Jesus, and the first martyr really was killed by stones because stones were used in anger, and stones were used to just end his life literally. And so, how many times do we metaphorically take stones and try to, you know, destroy somebody else's life, you know, spiritually, mentally, physically, you know, and how many times are we using stones to actually uplift and build somebody up and build a wall around them of protection that helps keep them sheltered from just words that come in, you know, and things that people throw at you, you know. There's a great movie out there. It's just, but one of the songs in the movie is called "This Is Me," and it's just really poignant to what the show is all about today. Is that it's, you know, no matter what people say about you, no matter what people throw at you, no matter what people say about you or think about you, you know, you gotta be real in your skin. You gotta realize that there's always somebody much higher than all of that, who's always looking out for you, who's always loving you, who's always protecting you. I mean, if we could just see all the stuff that we're being protected from every day, it would be mind-boggling. It would just be, you know, and just so, you know, just what kind of stones are in your life? You know, I used to hold on to the stone of anger a lot. I did. I was angry about the things that had happened in my life. I didn't want to let the stones down. I didn't want to put the rocks down. I wanted to keep them armed and ready, you know, so I could use that stone of anger to retaliate when somebody threw a stone at me, you know. You know, David and Goliath is a perfect example of how, you know, a stone, even though it's just this little inanimate object, can be used in a mighty way if it's used in the right hands, you know, and a mighty giant fell that day because of a little stone and a slingshot and a faith that believed that that stone could change people's lives. You know, we don't always have to try to be hurtful and hateful to people, to each other. You know, even especially as Christians, you know, we should, I know it's tough, I know human kicks in and things go on and life gets tough sometimes, but we've always got to just try to always love first, you know, and just try to see through the eyes of grace. You know, it's just, I had a situation this week. Somebody got really upset with me, and I just had to try to fight through that, because, you know, in that moment I wanted to pick up that stone again, and I wanted to just say, why are you so angry at me? But I realized, you know, and I talked to my wife about it, which is fantastic, that, you know, you still got to show grace, because you just don't know what somebody's going through in life. You don't know what stones has just been thrown at them. So now instead of trying to make the situation better, now we're going to pick up another stone and throw it at them? I don't think that makes the situation better. I don't think that creates opportunity for change. I don't think that creates opportunity for communication. You know, we got to help build foundations with the stones instead of building prison walls with them, you know, and locking people up in these walls and in these cells built of stones that we think that they deserve to carry. No, we should always come freely with a free hand. One of the greatest movies that I've seen, like I said, whatever you think of Jesus, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen is The Passion. I mean, it's just a fantastically done movie, you know, that just showed about the love of a man and what he was willing to go through to show that love to everyone. And at the very end, you know, when they were raising up the cross and they shot to Mary, his mother, you could see her grabbing gravels of rock, just handfuls of rock. And you could just tell that she was angry. She was upset about what was happening to her son. But it's just like, you could just see the love of God just come over her, and she just released the stones and let them fall, and realized that it wasn't her fight to fight, you know, it was God's. You know, so when we see people struggling and we see people getting, you know, we shouldn't be off to the side holding their coats for them while they're throwing stones at people. We should be stepping in and you know, just protecting them and just holding them. I remember back in the early 90s when I lived out in California, they had you know, there was a situation where a gentleman was attacked. There was a trial. Didn't turn out the way people had hoped. So there was anger and frustration in the streets, and there was a guy in a truck just minding his business, trying to go down the road, was drug out and brutally beaten with bricks and stones. And it's just like, but somebody stepped in. Somebody stepped in and stopped them from doing that. And that's what we should be. We should be continuously looking for those guys who are being attacked and marginalized and minimalized and brutalized. Man, you don't know how many times I stood in the mirror practicing all those 4 lines. Man, usually that doesn't usually come out the way I just said it. That's why I could never be a preacher. You know why I could never be a preacher? I'll tell you why. Matthew 1. Man, trying to read all those names. I'm telling you, I had like, my wife and I, we read a chapter a night, and she always groans when we get to Matthew 1. Now at this point, because we've read the Bible so many times together, she'll just say, hey, I'll just read Matthew 1. Because it's like, I think it's like 25 verses, 30 verses. By the time I get done adding all the extra syllables and consonants in there, it's like 52 verses. It's like I've written a whole book out of one chapter, because it's just, you know, Abonomnem and Halayan, I mean, it's just terrible. So when we get to Matthew 1, I just pass it off. I don't even try anymore, because my wife just cracks up when I try to pronounce some of these Hebrew names and Aramaic names. It just, I don't know. I don't get it. They're just hard for me. So anyway, we should always be on the lookout, like I said, on the lookout to show love to somebody, to show that there are good stones in this world, that there are stones that can be used to uplift and to build. You know, when they build a building, they don't build it on quicksand. They don't build it on mud. They go out and they lay a foundation of stone, you know, to help hold that building upright in all kinds of weather and all kinds of seasons. And that building was built to last a very long time. So we got to try to put those stones into people's lives that's going to build them up and encourage them and set them on a path for a very long time, to when they can look back and say, you know, I remember when each stone was laid in that foundation of my life, and who was there to help do it and guide me and teach me. And that's why we gotta be that with everybody. We can't just throw stones. We gotta lay stones. We gotta put them down. We gotta raise them up. We gotta dig them up. Nothing worse than when my wife is working in a garden and she's going to plant something and she hits a rock. Kink. You know, the rock doesn't stay in the garden, I can tell you that. I've had to duck a couple times, but anyway, so. But you know, it's just like when you're starting to work and you're starting to meet and you're starting to get something done, and all of a sudden you hit a stone, you hit a rock. Now, you can work around the rock. You can let the rock stay in the garden and say, well, I'll just plant over here until you hit another rock. And then you say, well, maybe I'll just let that rock lie. I won't really do anything with that rock. I'll work over here till you hit another rock. And then eventually you got nothing in your garden because you've dug up all these rocks that are still in your garden. Now, if you dig them up and you chuck them, now, let me clarify. I am the only person that can use that phrase, chuck. Nobody else in the world, and nobody else can say chuck except for me. Okay, got it? Okay, good, we got it. My guy's over here. He's about to shut me down. He's about to pull the plug. He's probably done taped me. He stopped taping me about 5 minutes ago. So that's okay. Oh, he's still taping? Sweet, you still hanging out with me, man? Yeah. Sweet. All right. Yes. I love it. So anyway, so yes, you can just end up staring at this plot of dirt with all these stones in it, going, well, nothing's going to grow out of that. Unless you decide, you know what, maybe it's not that hard to dig up some stones, you know, and then eventually you start digging up a stone and you throw it. You dig up another stone and you move it. You dig up another stone and you get rid of it. And then all of a sudden you look back and guess what you're left with? Nice fertile dirt that will grow if you get rid of the stones. You know, you can't hang on to those stones. You got to get rid of them. You got to chuck them. You gotta say adios, you know. And when somebody tries to throw another stone, you just dig it up, toss it aside, you know. Because you got to remember, the only stone that matters is the true cornerstone, the one who died so he could set up a foundation for all of us, and to set up a path to go, you know. And there's also talks about in the Bible, you know, let him who has no sin cast the first stone. That's actually, thank you very much, John. I was going to actually bring that story up because it's such a powerful testimony and story that Jesus had come to this town, and all these old guys, all the elderly guys, got this woman, drug her out, Mary, because she was doing whatever they didn't think she was supposed to be doing, and they all threw her down and grabbed a stone. Jesus came along and didn't say anything, bent down, drew a line in the sand, and started writing. Now, nobody knows what he was writing, but I'm going to give you my theory. And I've heard this theory before. It's not my theory, but it's the theory that I've adopted and like to keep in mind. I think he started writing each guy's name down and their sin. Next guy, his sin. Because immediately after he started writing, guess what happened? People started throwing their stones down. And that's a great verse where it says, let him who has no sin cast the first stone. Jesus said that, and you know what? They're like, well, I can't do it. Nope, I can't do it. So he took a moment where stones were meant to hurt and harm, and he took words to disarm people and to have them throw their stones away so that there could be a moment of grace, and there could be a moment of redemption, and there could be a moment of pure intimate moment with God. Can you imagine Mary looking up to God in that moment? You know, just seconds ago, she was hated by man. They wanted to kill her, destroy her. And all of a sudden, here comes Jesus, who writes some stuff in the sand. And now all of a sudden, it goes from hate to grace. You know, and it's just amazing. And that's what we got to try to do for people. That's what we got to try to walk this world out. We got to try to turn hate into grace. And we can do that by disarming people in their stones, by letting people know that, hey, you know, we've heard that old expression, sticks and stones. You know, they do hurt. You know, they do hurt. Words hurt. I see people all the time that have been affected by words that lasted years and years and years and years. I heard a story one time. I was at a conference in Alabama. I heard a story one time about a guy. He ultimately became like just a great man of God in the ministry. But when he was in 8th grade, and I didn't know this until he told me the story, but when you're doing algebra or calculus or whatever, you have to show your work. So the guy called this guy up to the chalkboard when he was in 8th grade. It was calculus. I don't know what it was. That's not important. The gist of the story is the guy, while he was walking up, figured out the answer in his head. He was that smart. That's the key here. Remember, he was that smart that he figured out the answer before he got up to the chalkboard. And so he got up there and he wrote the answer and went and sat back down. And the teacher says, you know what? You are absolutely wrong. And just belittled him and just said, you will never amount to nothing because he didn't show his work. And those words stuck from the time he was in 8th grade until he was about 25. Those words stuck. He became just, you know, a delinquent. He didn't feel like he was worthy. He went from this guy who, you know, had the brains. He still had the brains, but his heart was hurt. And he let his hurt heart and the stone in his heart lead him for 15 years. You know, until one day, here's how powerful, here's how awesome words can change a moment. So he goes and he decides he's going to apply for this oil rig job. And you know, of course, he's thinking in the back of his mind, I'm never going to get this job. I'm worthless. I'm no good. He's stuck hearing the words of that 8th grade calculus teacher in his ear. That stone that was placed in his ear. He keeps hearing that word. So he goes and he takes the test. Waits about a week later. The hiring guy calls him and he says, hey, I got some news for you. And you know what this guy thought immediately? He thought, oh man, this guy's going to tell me I failed. He's going to tell me I'm no good. He's going to tell me I'm worthless. And you know, I'm just going to hear this all over again. But you know what the guy told him? He said, you know what? I want to come in and interview you today. He said, you scored 100% on that test. He said, I've never, ever, ever had anybody in all the years that I've been giving this test out score 100%. That guy says, you know what? You are a genius. You've got potential. There's something great about you that's going to happen. I can just see it. So come on in and let's talk about it. And he ended up getting that job. But you know what? And he said from that day forward, the ringing in his ear of the calculus teacher went silent. It just closed. It just stopped. And all he heard was the grace of God in his ear saying, you know what? No matter what people say about you, listen to what I think about you and what I know about you, and that you're great and that you've got potential. I just didn't make you without potential. I mean, we all got potential. You know, one day I could potentially be a great comedian. Probably not. But at least I could try, right? We've all got potential. That was supposed to be funny, by the way. I think he's over here asleep. No, just kidding. He was asleep. Oh, no. No, just kidding. So anyway, you know what? When those moments of words come, and I really like to try to stress this with the young kids, man. You know, when they hear just so much negativity going around them and stuff going on, it almost brings me to tears, because it's just tough to watch, because, you know, you see their little minds going like, you know, I'm excited about life. I'm excited about potential. I'm excited about what I can do. And then all of a sudden it's like the cylinders start missing, because you see that they're afraid to reach out because they've been told so many times that you don't matter, you know, you're not smart, you're not going to be able to figure it out. And so that ringing becomes louder and louder and louder in their ears, and it just quiets out the excitement of the potential of the moment, and it's just sad. It just really makes me sad, because, you know, there's so many great kids out there. I get to hang out with a lot of them every day. So many great kids. I see the smile and the excitement in their eyes, but their facial expressions just say, why even bother? You know, because it's just, you know, school, there's things going on at school, possibly maybe things going on at home, you know, with friendships, and it's just like, there's, who can they turn to? You know, and it's just sad, because we should be rallying around those kids, because those kids are going to be the ones that take over for us. You know, they're going to be the ones that are going to be shaping the world. You know, they're the ones that are going to be picking up the rocks. And what kind of stone are they picking up? Are they going to pick up a stone of destruction? Or are they going to pick up a stone of construction? You know, and it just falls on us. We've got to be the example for that. We've got to realize that everybody that has air in their lungs in this world deserves love. There's not one person who doesn't deserve it. There's not one person who doesn't deserve grace. And there's not one person who doesn't deserve potential and an opportunity for that potential. If I could try to help somebody break through and get somewhere, I'm excited about doing that. That's what I love to do. I love to go out and find people who are struggling a little bit and say, hey, what can we do together? You know, I like inviting people on my radio show. You know, they're like, oh, I can never do that. I'm like, all you got to do is it's just like, all you're doing is talking to me. You know, probably most times it is just talking to me. But anyway, so you know what? It's just, you got to give opportunities and give them encouragement and let them know, hey, you can do this too. You can do just as much as I can. And I want you to do not just as much as me, but I want you to do more than I've done. You know, that's what each generation should be doing. The foundation should be getting firmer and thicker from every generation to generation. It shouldn't be, you know, we shouldn't have 4 generations down the line and have a basement full of water. We shouldn't do that. That basement should be airtight. That foundation should be unbendable, you know. Just because maybe sometimes the window's got to be replaced, or the siding, or the roof, or the doors, or the carpet, you know, that's all immaterial stuff. But as long as the foundation, it stays the same, no matter what the building looks like, it's going to be unstoppable. It's going to be unbreakable. It's just, we got to stop giving these kids mud foundations, and quicksand foundations. We got to give them a firm foundation to start building that building of their life on it, and know that things are going to happen, that you're going to have to change some things out and move things. But as long as that, like I said, as long as that foundation is firm, it doesn't matter what the building looks like. I'm a big architect guy. I like going to cities, like older cities. One of my favorite cities that I loved going to just because of the architecture was New Orleans, because they have so many different, areas of the city where they have different foundations, and because of the water level or the water table or, just whatever. And it's just neat to see, all the different foundations that we used because of the needs of each part of the city. And it's just great because they knew that, and the foundations are still there today. I mean, New Orleans is older than America. It's just crazy to think that this town is over 200 years old, and a lot of the foundations have still withstood the test of time because these guys knew to have a lasting building, to having a lasting, something that's going to last throughout the ages, you got to have a firm foundation. And that's got to be with a lot of good rock and support. It can't be just, let's throw some mud down and build a skyscraper on it. I don't think that would last very long. I think it would come down pretty quickly if it was built on mud. But you see these, and like you see in New York. Okay, now I'm going to tell you something. Side note, I like to get sidetracked a lot, as you guys know. I finally got talked to going up to the Willis Tower, to the very top. I'm not a very tall skyscraper. They got this thing where you can stand out in the glass, but now they got, have you seen that? They've got this thing now where you can lay against the glass and it will lay you out. And you can literally be laying outside the Willis Tower looking straight down. Not for me. But anyway, I know I felt it. Some people say, oh no, it doesn't do that. But I stood there and you could almost feel, I probably, was in my head, but you could almost feel like the building swaying in the wind, and they built it that way. They didn't build it rigid. They had a great foundation, and they knew how to build it so that way it would give a little bit in the wind, because if it was just solid like that and a good sized wind, it could, and they didn't want that. So we've got to know how to lay the foundation, but also know how to build the building in turn, and that's through, teaching what God says about them, and constantly reminding them that they are worthy, and that they are lovable, and that we're excited that they're here. I'm excited when I get to talk to the young kids. I'm excited. There's a little person gets on my bus. She's 5 or 6 years old. We started talking in Jen. Now she brings a doll with her, or a dinosaur, or a superhero, or whatever she has, and she makes me name it. It's fun. I get to come up with some goofy names. Some names she's looked at and she goes, huh? But you know what? It's just fun. It's just exciting. There's no age requirement on fellowshipping and bonding with people. We've got to just keep working on the building. I'm going to leave you with a quick story. Of course, everybody knows it. It's the guy who builds his house on a rock and the guy who builds his house on the sand. And when the rains came, you can almost guess whose house stood and whose house fell. So we've got to make sure our foundations are firm in the cornerstone of God. You know what I mean? Just firm. Because if our foundations get firmed up, then we can go out and we can show other people how to firm up their foundations through love and patience and grace and kindness. Golly, there's enough hate in the world. Enough hate. I mean, we see it all the time. Like the terrible incident in California a few days ago. I mean, it's just terrible. Terrible. And when I was a kid, I was talking to somebody last week or the week before. I said, when I was a kid, that was almost unheard of. Now these kids hear it every week. It's almost like it's it's expected anymore. You know, it's like, okay, when's the next one going to happen? You know, and I was talking to a great friend, and she was like, you know, it's almost coming to the point where we have to ask ourselves at the end of the day, did I get lucky today? You know, and it doesn't have to be that way. Hate will never, ever build a firm foundation for anything. Hate will do nothing but crumble and destroy. But love, grace, and patience, and peace, and kindness, and understanding, and all those things that make things good and great, those are the things that build foundations. And we need to start instilling those in ourselves and try to start instilling those in other people, you know. And just know, you know what? Love does win. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, love will win in any situation. It may take time. It may take perseverance. It may take a long time to build that house or to weed that garden, but it can be done. So, hey, I'm going to leave you with that thought, and just know that we love you here. Thanks for tuning in again, and we will see you next week on another exciting, fascinating,